Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has met with his visiting Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif in Beijing. Well, this is the third time that the Iranian Foreign Minister has visited China this year. His trip comes after Zarif's surprise appearance at the G7 summit in France. And for the very latest about the Iranian Foreign Minister's visit, let's talk to Wu Guoxiu, who has been following this. So, Guoxiu, tell us more about Javad Zarif's visit.
So Zarif visited China in February, May, and now this time. The conversation took place at this Diaoyutai guest house, and I'm just outside of it. Wang Yi began the conversation with saying that we have seen you via international media busy visiting different countries in the world to firmly safeguard Iran's legitimate interest, and China admires and praises the efforts that the foreign minister has made to Iran and its people. He says China and Iran are strategic partners, having high-level and close strategic coordination. And the world is very peaceful now, and China will perform its contribution as a responsible country. Take a listen.
We are currently witnessing the rise of unilateralism and power politics. China, as a responsible country, is willing to work with Iran and the rest of the world to defend multilateralism and protect the basic norms of international relations.
Well, Zarif says it's great to be back to Beijing. The relations between Iran and China are rooted in millennia of friendship between the two countries and the two peoples, as well as their common positions and common principles about to uphold multilateralism, international law, and the necessity of mutual respect and refraining from interference in the internal affairs of other countries. And China and Iran have worked together to reject those interference. Here is what he said.
We reject actions of interference by others in the affairs of progressive countries, including Iran and China. And we have stood together in dealing with these interventions and interferences and rejecting them as a major threat to international peace and security and friendly relations among countries.
He added that, as Wang has pointed out, that unilateralism is on the rise, and rejection of international law, not only lack of respect, but in fact contempt to international law, is on the rise, and China and Iran need to work together. He says he is here to do two things. First, to present a 25-year roadmap to strengthen economic cooperation as well as comprehensive strategic partnerships from culture to science, technology, security, and political, economic development cooperation, as well as on Belt and Road Initiative. He also briefed Mr. Wang Yi on the latest development during his tour to Europe and France on the nuclear agreement issue. Iran and the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, the U.S., France, Britain, Russia, and China, plus Germany, signed the nuclear agreement on July the 14th, 2015. And however, Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of the deal last year and reimposed the sanctions on Tehran, which had been lifted under the accord. In reaction, Iran also dropped part of its obligation to the deal recently and threatened to do more. Zarif visited during his latest visit to Beijing in May. Zarif says the Iranian side has no intention to withdraw from the agreement and stands ready to keep communication with various parties, including China, on maintaining and implementing the agreement.